we don't think of Kendrick every time we see Baby Keem.
Yeah.
Or when we see Baby Keem, is Kendrick coming out? That's
okay.
That's not cool.
Yeah. I get that.
Like, think about that. Like, you know how hard it is to like shake that? Like, some artists kind of hate things like that. That was a thing about Jay when he first came out, because every time he performed Ain't No Nigga, they used to boo him if Foxy Brown didn't come out. Think about that.
Yeah. Welcome to Rap in Order, the interrogation of a hip-hop album, where we take some of the culture's most beloved hip-hop albums, put them on the stand, see if they stood the test of time. Now let's see who we got on the stand today.
These are their stories.
And welcome to another episode of Rap in Order. I'm First Class Regg.
And I'm Taurian B.
And today, we're getting into the Melodic Blue, which is Baby Keem's official debut album. It was released in 2021 on Kendrick's PGLang, as I guess you could say like the kickoff to the label.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Baby Keem had two previous EPs leading up to this, which were Die For My Bitch and what was the other one? Shit, I can't find it. But this one was led off by Family Ties. Family Ties was his official kickoff with kind of acknowledging Kendrick as his cousin, you could say.
Yeah, I was mad. Okay, so like I wasn't really like familiar. So like Eli told me about Baby Keem like early, right? Mm-hmm. And like I was very like I wasn't like very like keen on him. I was like, all right, Baby Keem, like, you know. And then like I was like, oh shit, he's Kendrick's cousin, but like I expected him to be like super, because his voice is so high pitched and shit.
Yeah,
I was kind of like shocked, like, oh shit, like he's not like lyrical miracle like Kendrick, like he's actually more melodic. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, is like a kind of I don't want to say like a yachty or whatever like that, but it's kind of like where it's like he's more like he's like a shyer version of like a melodic artist that will come out in hip hop. I don't want to say yachty or like, you know, pigeonhole him, but like you could just tell like, all right, cool, like he's a stoop kid and like he just likes music and like he can get his shit off, and like Kendrick peeped that and like finally gave him a shot, because I heard that Kendrick gave him a hard time.
Yeah. Well, I heard that too, and I think it was cool that he didn't really acknowledge. Like there was like rumors that they were related and whatnot, but it wasn't like confirmed fully. But then when Family Ties came out, that was like a fucking. That was just a grand gesture, like that shit. And then leading up to that, we hadn't even heard from Kendrick in a couple years since I think I would say the Black Panther soundtrack.
Right, and wasn't the Family Ties out like single cover like a
family photo?
It was a family photo of them, right?
Yeah, it was a family photo, and I think Keem, because I listened to Keem back then, like a while back, because I believe Eli also is the one that brought it up for me. But back then, he had the two projects out. And I was drawn to it, of course, because of Cardo. Cardo did the production mostly for them. And I was like, yo, who is this kid? Like, I didn't know his ties to anybody, whatever. But I just thought his melody was dope, his flow was dope, and he had this young, dope energy. So, like, I was like, all right, well, let me see where this goes. And then when Melodic Blue came out, even the promotion for it, and then coming to find out that he did most of the production for the album, it was solid. Yeah,
I guess it's just one of those things, like when you're a kid and like your big cousin like blows up and becomes famous, like it gives you access to a lot of things, and it kind of like gives you freedom, and it makes it feel real. Like, wait a second, like we from the same family tree. Like if he did it, I can definitely fucking do it. And you know, you just need the opportunity, and then once you get that, like execute.
And just to name check, the name of that other project that I was trying to refer to was The Sound of Bad Habit. And it came out a year apart from Die For My Bitch, which is the second mixtape. But yeah, going into this,
I like that.
Right? Going into this, I was excited because I didn't know what to expect, and also I really liked the promotion for this. It was consistent. The colors were dope. The album cover is dope. It's super like, you know, it's scenic. It's, you know, it's moody. What did you think of this album, man? Had you visited this before? like as a full length before we got into it?
Yeah, I gave it one listen when it first came out. I watched the video for Family Ties. Dave Free is a fucking genius. What he did with the video, because like I video edit, like knowing like what he did, like basically like laying like the videos on top of video and stuff like that, and then like sliding them in, and it's kind of like telling a story and it's making a collage of different sequences was really dope. And I thought like it was like very artsy, and it's very like interesting to see that because it's like him being from like the Compton area. This might come off bad, but it's not bad. Like when you hear about people from Compton, you think of gangbanging. You think of like like real hood boys in the hood shit, like NWA.
That's the influence of Dre. That's why we think of it that way.
Right. That's why we think of it that way, right? Because like obviously like you have like the guys that are in our future, but they're like from like the Valley, and, like different areas of California. So you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like those niggas is artsy. Like those dudes, like so, like seeing like the vision that like Dave Free and Kendrick and everybody at PGLang have is just like so like, oh shit, like other than like what I'm saying, like they like these niggas ain't just all about gangbanging shit and everything like that. Like they are creative.
Layers,
and then it's just like you realize like because like we're not from there. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, so sometimes like artists from the West Coast just get pigeonholed into it because that's become like their genre. Like that's just become like their norm. And that was like the first thing that like stood out to me when I listened to the project. So I listened to it and it was like good. Then I did not touch it again outside of Trademark USA and Family Ties.
Okay.
Those two tracks, right? Go back. We had to listen to it for this episode. And like I listened to it for like a couple days in a row. Just listen to it. I didn't take any notes and things like that. I just wanted to like just get into the mood. And like this album is definitely like an album that you can just listen to like and you just vibe out to. And it's just like mindless. Like obviously like there's like a lot of things being said and like ideals. But when I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh shit, like this is just like a vibe out album. Like we just like do some shit like ride in your car, ride your bike, commute somewhere. And like it just flows. Like it's kind of like a jazz album.
Yeah, I think because because he's so young, obviously some of his subject matter is a little limited, but he uses little pockets in this album to really get into some shit. Like you got a song like Issues, where he talks about his his demons, like running from his demons or not being able to fully accept the fame that's coming to him, and feeling kind of this guilt of abandoning his family to go toward this fame that's coming toward him, which I think was really good. And then you got a song like Scapegoats that kind of previews that, but then further into the album he gets a little deeper. So like super family oriented, and I think what this album kind of tackles is how he's trying to maneuver both, how he's trying to conquer fame but also still be there for his family and the people that was there for him in the beginning.
Okay.
So getting into the album itself and some of these tracks, you mentioned Trademark USA. Kicks the album off.
Yo, the beat switch is fucking amazing. It's actually I'll say it's my favorite track on the album. It just stays with me, and I was just like, oh shit. Yeah. I've played that song the most of anything on the album.
I think Trademark USA is amazing. That goes into Pink Panties, which kind of reminds me of Manny Fresh production, but it's produced by Che Ikro, which is this other artist on the come up, and Keem himself. It's not even the chorus like pussy ass niggas, that shit. Like it sounds like some Manny Fresh shit.
Nah, it definitely is, and I think that when I'm listening to it, I'm just like, oh, okay, so like this was his kind of like bitches ain't shit but hoes and shit.
Yeah. And then like I mentioned before with Scapegoats, that samples this newer artist, Serpents with Feet, that came out with a song called Redemption. And what I really like about Scapegoats is like it feels like this great build-up, right? But it just never goes into this like you feel like it's gonna be a switch up, but it doesn't switch up. It just takes you right into Range Brothers with Kendrick. Right. And Range Brothers, it's a bunch of different shit to say about it, right? Because around this time, we was just clamoring for new Kendrick. We wanted new Kendrick. We didn't know what it would sound like at this time. And then he did the whole top of the morning.
I ain't gonna lie, that shit was stuck in my head for a little minute.
Yeah, but he was getting kind of badgered online with it because people didn't really fuck with it. People was like, yo, niggas is waiting for Kendrick and this what he come back with? Like, people didn't know how to feel.
I have a thing. I have something to say. I think that as fans, we need to let Kendrick do whatever the fuck he feels he wants to do.
Oh yeah,
and like,
he fought for that.
Yeah, and when I'm saying that, what I mean is just that like I think that's a problem that Nas had for a very long time. I think that Nas artistically wanted to do other things, but because of the era that he came out in, like he felt like he had to be like this super lyrical genius rapper, and like he just like wound up like losing himself for a little minute, and then like he had like a patch where like things were like really rough for him because his mom was suffering from cancer, and like he couldn't get his footing, and as you could tell now, like he's like rapping and everything, but like he's the son of a jazz musician. I promise you that Nas wanted to make like an alternative album.
Yeah.
But he couldn't because like he knew like the backlash he would have got. Yeah. So I'm actually really happy that like Spit Butterfly is my favorite Kendrick album, and I know for a fact that like when he recorded and made that album, like he really like went out his way to dive into like other sounds and do other things. So,
but do you think? Sorry to cut you off. Do you think Nas got pigeonholed, or do you think he ultimately still did what he wanted to do?
It's just he definitely got pigeonholed.
Well, I don't know.
He did the Distant Relatives album, got killed for it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I would say It Was Written was a departure from Illmatic, and it was. When you look back, I feel like Illmatic and It Was Written, they are different, right? But a lot of people now feel like It Was Written was better.
Because now It Was Written was kind of the blueprint for crossover rap albums to be a crossover album. But no, I think that like even with It Was Written, like yeah, like they were like, all right, listen, like you're a rap superstar now. You're not an underground rapper anymore. So like that was kind of like laying the groundwork for like how rap artists present themselves to the masses. Because Illmatic wasn't for everybody.
Yeah.
Even though like it's hailed by rap fans, It Was Written was kind of like a wide gauge. It was kind of like competing with what Interscope was doing over there with Death Row. And
Illmatic had a wow factor to it because he was like 17, 18.
Yeah, and he was 17.
Rapping, grown as fuck. And you know.
I think that Nas did the best that he could to appease both sides and people, and he still got shit. But no, I really think that I'm pretty sure like I could find an interview, but I sorry like that we veered off into this, but I truly think that Nas wanted to just make an album where like he's just like making noises.
Yeah, I always appreciate Kendrick's artistry because, you know, I'm glad he didn't stick to just being this storyteller type MC that he was with the first album.
Right.
And he kind of pivoted and he did something like To Pimp a Butterfly, and it was amazing. At first, I do remember To Pimp a Butterfly not being like well received, and people kind of
remember we were in Texas when To Pimp a Butterfly dropped, and we both were like, remember I got mad because your coworker wrote the album review before me, and I was pissed off because I wanted to do the album review.
Yeah, he wrote that shit quick.
Yeah, I was so mad. I was so jealous.
He was like, "Yo, can you guys post this?" And I showed it to you. He was like, "Yo, this shit is kind of dope."
back to the album.
Yeah. We should get back, but so kind of moving back to the album. You know, you got even to highlight some of the features on here, right? Because it's not that feature heavy. You got Travis Scott on here. All the features, by the way, make a lot of sense. You got Travis Scott on here for Do Rag Activity. And at this time, Travis was kind of building up because he was about to drop his next album, which never came for obvious reasons, if you look back. And then you got Don Toliver on here. Love Don Toliver. Don Toliver's on Coco.
Yeah. So Do Rag Activity fell really flat.
That was like one of the first singles,
that was like
actually.
A letdown.
You think so?
Yeah.
I liked it back then. I mean, it was I liked the title. The production was dope. The video was good too.
I guess because like I wasn't really checking for this project outside of the two Kendrick songs.
Okay.
When I come back and listen to it, I'm like, okay, this was the lead single. It did nothing for me. Like, so I guess like, you know, I don't hear it no more.
It's not the type of energy that you would
expect.
Yeah, that you would expect. It's really low. It's monotone. Even Travis on here, who usually brings the energy, was like pretty monotone. But you got some other highlights on here. Lost Souls, the production on that is fucking beautiful. Even the remix with Brent Faiyaz is amazing.
Good old Brent.
Yeah. What do you think? So you said
I can give you some of my favorite tracks.
Yes.
So Trademark USA, Scapegoats, yes. Range Brothers, yeah. Issues, Scars. Is it Boo Man?
Yeah, Boo Man.
Boo
That
Man.
was like his nickname when he was a kid.
Okay, and Vent.
Okay.
Are my favorite tracks off the album. And No Sense and Do-Rag Activity, like I don't know why they made the album.
No Sense?
Yeah.
I like No Sense. These bitches wanna ride my face.
It just don't do nothing for me. Like,
but it's a throwaway. It's like a No Sense is like on the set. It's in the deluxe version of the album, but the actual album contains the 16 tracks. Right. And you got a song like Gorgeous. Gorgeous is incredible. Production really carries this album because it doesn't. It's like you said, like where you can kind of just ride out and you can vibe to it, right? But then when you really listening to it, like when I was listening to it today, I'm like, all right, well, let me just jot down a few things that I might have missed. Like he's really unpacking some shit for himself. And then granted, he's only lived but so much life, right? So he's not really reaching that far back. He don't have that much to talk about yet. I think as he progresses as an artist, he's gonna get a lot more interesting, and his art is just gonna grow. Because I think visually, he's dope. He has amazing visuals, super subtle, super minimal, but it's impactful.
One thing I want to talk about is in 2021 when this album came out. Like, was it highly anticipated? You think? Would you say that?
I think there was more curiosity behind it because of the attachment to Kendrick. So it was like, I don't know if it was highly anticipated. I think Keem was still working toward being like in the light. But he had an amazing single with Kendrick, you know? But at the same time, he wasn't necessarily in Kendrick's shadow. I feel like there's still like a difference. They're still very different.
I wanted to talk about that. So, you know how like artists, like, you know, they try to like bring up somebody, like they try to bring up like they, you know, they
Their protege.
Their protege. Do you think that like there's like pressure on Keem to like do that, or do you think like they're like in a spaces like where they drop and like media and all that shit, like they don't even like touch them?
I think they work themselves, and it's just how you said with Kendrick, where he didn't kind of follow the norm of what we expected him to do. I think that's the same thing is happening with Keem, where he's kind of like defining his own era because it's a very different era now. So like the 2010 kids, which is like not necessarily us, but like we were in that mode, like we were in that blog era. We can kind of separate the two because this Keem is like at the helm of a whole new era. It's very different when you have somebody like a Bleak and Hove, because Bleak was in the same era, you know? So like with Kendrick, him kind of helping usher in a new kid in a new era is different. It's not really as much pressure.
I get what you're saying because Hove did that on the first album.
Yeah.
The whole new improved Jay-Z.
Exactly.
Okay.
So like people, which kind of, you know, bit him in the ass because then you're trying to listen to Bleak differently because you're expecting him to be from that cloth, you know, and it just wasn't.
Yeah. Good thing that he learned that lesson and left Cole the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
We were like, yo, why he don't give J. Cole like a look? Why he don't do this? But it was the best thing for him.
It was. And I'm pretty sure Cole would have wanted that. But
and now they look just alike.
Ain't that crazy? Cole probably looking at him like, yo, you motherfucker.
Niggas want to be hippies all of a sudden.
You know? But no, yeah, that's interesting because I didn't think about it like that. But when you think about it, though, it makes sense. Like, Keem is for this era. And I think, low-key, he's the reason Kendrick can stay tapped in because I think he said he took like a year or so from like even having a phone. Kendrick said that. And as being a rapper, that just sounds crazy to me because it's like, well, what do you talk about? How do you tap in? How do you still stay relevant? But then you got somebody like Keem that I think he's the whole reason why he can stay relevant.
I'll be honest with you, I think that's easy as hell. I think when you're when you're an artist and you have access to whatever the fuck you want, you travel the world and you have experiences versus being on your phone and like just knowing like gossip and like social media and shit like that. I feel like what Kendrick did is like he traveled the world and that's why like he had so much to say, and I think he had like a lot of inner conversations with himself while he's traveling, going seeing these things. You gotta think about it. He's this hood dude from like Compton, like his family, like he has family members that are like active drug addicts and shit like that. So I just think that in that time, like he was able to see things that he probably never thought he would be able to like see and experience.
Yeah.
So I think that actually made like a huge difference for
I see
him
that.
versus having a phone and having access and like just knowing like all the shit that's going on. Like he don't need to know if like Blueface and Krayshawn are like beating the shit out of each other.
I see like that because I think in the same sense, it's something like that with Hov, right? Because he doesn't seem too dialed in, but then he has like his nephews or whatever.
Guru. I feel like Guru and Lenny S are like
online a lot.
Yeah, Guru and Lenny S are like his gossip, his gossip minions.
Yeah,
they tell him all
that's
shit.
his filter. So like they're able to bring him things that he should probably know about, and to stay youthful and to stay in the know with the culture, even if it's not impactful to your life. I feel like that's important for a rapper because a rapper is you're kind of a news outlet in a sense, like in your own way. However you kind of get it off, that's what type of time you got to be on when you were MC. You know,
I feel like when Jay-Z was doing Drug Dealers Anonymous and he said "Damn Daniel," I feel like Lenny showed him that video right then and there. He did that shit.
Yeah, see shit like that, Like even then, that was at the tail end of that being a viral trend. So niggas
I wonder how that kid's doing.
He has a lifetime of Vans or some shit.
Yeah, man.
It's fucking Ellen hooks all of these white kids up. But yeah, back into the photo of the album. So those are the ones you fuck with.
Yes.
Are there any songs that you absolutely just don't
no fun, no sense, and do-rag activity?
That's it?
Fucking suck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I fuck with those actually.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if there's a song on here that I really don't like. Even the outro is beautiful. All the features, like I said, they make sense. South Africa is incredible. Production is great. It's basic, but it works. I think that's what I like about this album a lot too, is that it's minimal. It has a lot of chances to get over the top, and it just doesn't. It has this happy medium. And I will say, you know, we got to keep bringing up Kendrick for obvious reasons, but like his last album, a lot of people didn't fuck with it at first, but I feel like it actually made this album more digestible for some people. Like I saw people go back to this album because of Kendrick's album, and then they was able to see his influence, because I think Keem has a big influence on Kendrick.
Oh yeah, that's obvious. There were some people trying to say that Keem was ghostwriting for Kendrick, which I thought was hilarious.
Crazy. That's crazy. I think Keem just amps Kendrick up because Kendrick is, so to speak, I guess the old head now.
Oh yeah.
So like he amps Kendrick up and he makes this rap shit exciting for Kendrick still, even when they perform together.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's good.
Even when they perform together, it's dope to see. Like Kendrick had this that Amazon performance of his tour.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I think if I don't watch that tonight, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. I'm gonna watch that,
which was really fucking good. Like Kendrick has turned into like his stage presence is incredible. I remember back then Felix saw him and I remember he came back and was like, "Yo, Kendrick's a terrible performer."
Of course, Felix.
And now Kendrick's came into his own. Like he's amazing. He's just one of those rappers now. I think going forward though, I don't know what's next for Keem or what he's gonna do next or how his artistry is gonna develop. Of course, he's still young, right?
His next project, I think he doesn't need to have Kendrick on that, like vocally on the album. It's kind of like he needs to step into his own, because it always like this was his debut album, and it came out, and it kind of seemed like it was like Kendrick Lamar's artist, but it's like if he's going to take that next step, and like Kendrick's going to be taking a step back to like more creative, they gotta like the presentation just seems very Protege. And they need to stop that. Yeah. And the association like needs to be separated. So it's like Kendrick obviously can be very hands-on with the album without delivering a verse.
Why do you think it needs to be separated?
Well, it needs to be separated because that I want to stop thinking about Kendrick Lamar every time I think about Baby Keem. Okay. Like every time because I'm just saying to go back, we have the example, right? J. Cole is his own artist, right? Like even to the sense where we associate Nas more with J. Cole and Jay-Z, right? So, and that's because like there was a separation. Like, you know, Jay kind of like let him get his own bumps and bruises on his own. So what I'm just saying is just that like you could be in the studio with Baby Keem all day, but we don't need Kendrick Lamar giving 2 verses to the album doesn't need to be a thing anymore. He did that on the first album. So what I'm saying, the second project, Baby Keem need to work with other artists. He need to build his own relationships. He don't need to be like in this bubble. And like it's not like they have like a a roster of artists like TDE did, where he could just fuck with his, like, you know what I'm saying, like his people. So he needs to like work with other artists and like kind of like venture out. I want to see that as him on his own. I want the training wheels taken off.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Only reason why I was like, well, I don't know if I really mind it is because, like I said, like it's two completely different eras, and Keem is not of the same type of cloth as Kendrick. We know that, and I think the audience knows that. So it's like kind of just fan service to see them together at this point.
I just want to make sure that we don't think of Kendrick every time we see Baby Keem. Or when we see Baby Keem, is Kendrick coming out? That's
okay.
That's not cool.
Yeah. I get that.
Like, think about that. Like, you know how hard it is to like shake that? Like, some artists kind of hate things like that. That was a thing about Jay when he first came out, because every time he performed Ain't No Nigga, they used to boo him if Foxy Brown didn't come out. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's crazy. What do you think is next for PGLang?
For PGLang,
like it's still super new, and we can't like identify it really yet.
Yeah, like what I want to know about PGLang is I want to know, like, you know, I know that they have other artists. I just want to know, like, will those other artists like come out? And I think that PGLang is going to be more than just a record label.
Oh yeah. It's super artsy.
Yeah.
They're gonna be doing probably some videos and shit, and you know their roster. It's only 3 artists on their roster right now. You know, you got Keem, you got Tana Leon, Kendrick himself. That's it.
I think that they're probably gonna start like, we're gonna get more stuff, but I think they're gonna try to bring more art scene stuff to Los Angeles. And I definitely don't see Kendrick going to fucking Art Basel or anything. Like, I just feel like a lot of things that he's going to do are going to mean more into like fashion.
Yeah.
And like just art, period. But I just don't know how he's going to present that, because like Kendrick like is a recluse, and like he has like terrible like public anxiety, social anxiety. So I don't know. Like I would love to see it. I want to see it. And I want to like see how it goes, because like to me, like Kendrick is like that boy, like he's like second to none.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. I know musically like where it goes, but I just want to see like how PGLang like presents everything, because I know Kendrick don't even like giving interviews. He don't like talking.
Yeah. It's gonna have to be this well produced, well put together interview that he does, not some off the cuff shit.
Yeah.
He
did that one time during the beginning of Black Lives Matter, and that shit went so bad, and so like I realized like that's when he stopped doing that shit completely. You remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
So there was a time like I was
who was it that interview?
I just thought about it now. I should have did better research, guys. I'm so sorry. But there was a time period like where basically he was talking about police brutality, and he basically asked the question like, "What did you do to make that cop do that to you?" And it was like a big thing. And like Kendrick, like that was like one of the last like magazine interviews that he did, because, you know, like he was just saying, and it's like, obviously you're like, yeah, like, did you like, what were you doing to make the cop even come in your vicinity? But it's like, yo, you being from Compton and being from the inner city, being a black kid, like where the fucking Watts riots, Rodney King beating like happened, like what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And like, I obviously, you know, maybe he was misquoted, but I know that ever since that, you know, that he didn't really do interviews like that anymore. And it was like he got a lot of backlash for it.
Interesting. He is just one of those people that strikes me as like, think before you speak, and like really, really, you know, because everybody pays attention to every word that the nigga says.
I agree.
But as far as Keem, I think what's next for him is gonna be exciting. I think, you know, whether he works with Kendrick or not going forward, it's all up to him. I think he's in a really unique place where he's still building his legacy, because he's so young, and his counterparts that are around him right now, like I would say Don Toliver's a counterpart, but also Don Toliver's not a rapper, but he's kind of in that same field. So I think they're both 2 really exciting artists right now. I just want to see more from them. And I think Keem is taking charge of like his future. I mean, he won a Grammy for Family Ties,
he won a Grammy,
which was great. He produces a lot of his own shit. He writes behind the scenes for other people. He's in an amazing space. I think I just want to see what comes of it, and I want to see what they bring with PGLang next. I think Melodic Blue overall is a solid debut. I think whoever's getting into Keem, this would be a great starting vehicle. His mixtapes are really fun, and I think it's worth checking out. What would you give this?
3.5 waffles out of 5.
Okay.
I think it's not groundbreaking, but there's definitely like a large amount of this album that like is good and fun to listen to. I don't think he reinvented the wheel or anything like that. I don't think it's like a timestamp or anything. I think it's just a cool album.
Yeah. I would actually agree with that rating for 3.5. 3.5 because it's really fun. The production is great. It has these really high moments that like, you know, I'm just looking forward to where he goes next because this wasn't a letdown in no sense. Everything that he had on here is super particular, even down to the sequencing of this album. It all flows together. The way it ends kind of leaves you wanting more. So I really want to see what he has coming up next. I do encourage you guys to check it out. I want to see what you think. Let us know in the comments. Subscribe, of course, to First Class Breakfast YouTube. I'm First Class Regg.
And I'm Taurian B.
And we're out of here.
Catch you guys next time. Good one. Dun dun.